Good afternoon, viewers and listeners of Concerned Citizens Media. Thank you again for joining me. I always appreciate your presence, you sharing your time with me. So I have some news to share with you for today. The first update I have for you is, the peace talk in South Africa on the conflict between the Ethiopian federal government and the Tigray region authority uh, extended. That's official now. So we hoped, this peace talk will bring some breakthrough agreement. But for now, the only thing we know is extended at least until Wednesday, according to some news outlet. Associated Press, it says extended through today, and I'll read that one. And from the government of Ethiopia, a lot of attempts to enter the Tigray region capital Mekelle with the help of Eritrean and other forces, but so far they are not successful. TDF still engaging them with courage and strong resistance, and all the preparation to establish transitional government, the recruitment of police force from Addis Ababa and other regions, and also the assigned administration for Tigray. So far, just dream not come true for Abiy Ahmed and the Prosperity Party. So now they're talking about sending humanitarian aid to Tigray region where the government control, also opening the bank. All these are just propaganda. Nothing is actual so far. So just propaganda. Let me read about peace talks, and we'll continue listening to the videos I selected for today from different media. Then I will stop the video, then read OLA press release on drone attacks, which is widely used by Abiy Ahmed in Oromia these days. So there's a press release plus other news. Peace talks on Ethiopia-Tigray conflict are extended. Associated Press, Nairobi. Peace talks between warring sides of Ethiopia-Tigray conflict have been extended into Monday, but other media said until Wednesday. So extended until Wednesday, but Associated Press extended into Monday. An official familiar with the arrangement for the talks confirmed the discussions continue in South Africa between Ethiopia's federal government and a representative from the northern Tigray region. The African Union-led talks seek a cessation of hostilities in a war that the United States asserts has killed up to hundreds of thousands of people, and an estimate made by some academic and health workers. The first formal peace talks began last week, and the South Africa's government had said they would end Sunday. Representatives of the warring sides have not responded to the questions. Neighboring Eritrea, whose forces are fighting alongside Ethiopian ones, is not a party to the talk, and it is not clear whether the deeply repressive country will respect any agreement reached. Witnesses have told the Associated Press that Eritreans were killing civilians even after the talks began. So that is an update on Eritrean forces and peace talks in South Africa. So Eritreans are still there. They are not out, still committing war crime. They don't scare anybody because there is no consequences. There is no penalty for committing atrocities, rapes, genocide, and stealing the Tigray properties and destroying the Tigrayan properties without any penalty for now, no consequences. And even encourage and collaborate with Abiy Ahmed to do the same kind of crime against Tigrayans. And Isaias has experience about the United Nations, European Union. So he advised him, don't worry about this thing. Don't worry about this condemnation or expression of concern. Just do whatever you want to do. You will not be, jailed or pay the price. Just for now. Just for now. So TDF still, as I said, resisting, fighting back, and destroying those invaders, Eritreans, and all militia from all region, plus the federal forces, try to capture the capital city and install the puppet government, but it didn't work. It didn't work. So let's listen to some YouTube I selected for today. Then I will come back and read more news. Finally, I have 2 videos to share with you. Thank you again. Let's listen. One is about the diaspora community in South Africa, Ethiopians, what they hope about this peace talk. And the other one is about the United Nations human rights experts, the three experts talking about Ethiopia. Let's listen.
Restaurant in Johannesburg, food and culture is celebrated regardless of political divisions. So when the civil war broke out between the national government and the Tigray People's Liberation Front in northern Ethiopia 2 years ago, owner Wandu Tesfaye said he was shocked.
It was very surprised for me, but what happened was I hope this war has to be over and peace has to be integrated in the country.
The United Nations says more than 5.2 million people are facing hunger as a result of the war, and international pressure to find an end to the fighting is mounting. Peace talks led by the African Union began last week in South Africa between the warring parties. That prospect of silencing the guns has given the Ethiopian diaspora hope.
I'm expecting right now what's going on in Ethiopia to have some kind of peace agreement in the country. Of course, South Africa, they chose it because of we do have a large Ethiopian community also in South Africa, but also the African Union involved with a lot about it.
Political analysts agree an African-led solution is needed as the conflict affects the continent.
I think it stopped being an internal conflict with the introduction of Eritrean forces during the first wave of fighting, where we saw thousands of Tigrayans fleeing to neighboring Sudan. Even that in itself meant that it's a regional conflict because then the Sudanese were involved.
Instability is among the reasons why Eyob Bisrat said he left Ethiopia in 2002 to set up a business in South Africa. While it's been hard to watch the recent conflict unfold, he said he was relieved to hear the talks would be happening in his backyard.
South Africa has influence in the rest of African countries. So I believe, having the talk here, I definitely believe that, some sort of good outcome will come out of this. And I believe it's the right place. I couldn't think of any other country, to host it,
But experts warn the ongoing talks that have kept the public largely in the dark are only the first step in a lengthy process to achieving peace.
I think this meeting is really not negotiations to end the conflict, but to agree on what to negotiate on. If both parties can agree on the immediate cessation of hostilities and the allowing into Tigray uninterrupted humanitarian aid. So those are really the basics.
Details have not been released about the peace talks, meaning Ethiopians at home and abroad wishing for a declaration of peace will still have to wait. Linda Giftash for VOA News, Johannesburg.
Okay, one more. Then I'll stop the video. Then.
The fighting has intensified in recent weeks, spreading into other parts of the country, and Eritrean troops are advancing with Ethiopian troops on several fronts. The conflict has forced hundreds of thousands of Ethiopians to flee their homes, many for a second or third time. We hear reports of an escalation in airstrikes in Tigray employing explosive weapons. There are indiscriminate attacks that are killing more innocent people and damaging infrastructure. Ethiopia's population finds itself mired once again in intractable, deadly consequences of a war affecting the stability of Ethiopia and the Horn of Africa. Both the AU chairperson and the UN Secretary General have recently expressed concern over the deteriorating situation. Our report that we presented initially to the Council and yesterday to the Third Committee, Human Rights Council, and yesterday to the Third Committee, paints a very grim picture. In particular, we find reasonable grounds to believe that most of the risk factors contained in the UN's 2014 Framework of Analysis for Atrocity Crimes are present in Ethiopia today. These include dissemination of hate speech and horrific and dehumanizing acts of violence. And found that the widespread denial and obstruction of access to food, medicine, and basic services amounted to a crime against humanity, as well as the war crime of using starvation as a method of warfare. And we also received information that the Tigrayan forces had looted or otherwise misappropriated funds. Secondly, we found rape and crimes of sexual violence have been perpetrated on a staggering scale since the conflict began, with Eritrean, Ethiopian, and Tigrayan forces all committing acts of violence and brutality, with devastating long-term effects on women and girls.
A war without witnesses, as you know, can be terrible, but we are very concerned that what is going on is reported. We are trying very hard to gain access to Ethiopia. We have maintained our relationship with the Ethiopian Human Rights Commission and the Office of the High Commissioner there. We are exchanging communications to try and see if we can work together. But the access, even if it's denied, as you know, in the modern world, through various forms of technology, you can gather information, whether it be remote, through remote technology or through satellites and other videos and other forms of technology. It is possible.
Okay. Okay, I'll come back to this video. That's about Brazilian election. So the experts, these are the experts. There are three, but I didn't see the third one. One is from the United States, the other one is from India, already assigned to do the investigation on Ethiopia. And as you heard, a lot of violation, reported in this. And they didn't finish their job. The government of Ethiopia deny them access to the area they want to go, but so far they didn't get permission. So they don't want any accountability. They want to investigate themselves and take responsibility under quotation. They don't want any UN investigation, any serious investigation. So they just deny them, delay their request, and dragging, then the time will expire. Then they will avoid responsibility I hope that will not happen anyway. That will not happen. Let's read what Oromo Liberation Front or Oromo Liberation Army press release says about the ongoing drone attacks on civilians in Oromia. Listen, we don't know a lot about Oromia these days, especially since Abiy Ahmed came to power since 2018, because domestic media and global media journalists are not allowed to report any event, especially the attacks happening in Walega and Western Shore, Central Shore, wherever a little bit or more movement of OLA. In Guji zone, all access is denied. So we don't know. We don't know. Even government-friendly medias, they don't get information. So sealed from domestic and global media. But some OMN and others are, exposing what's happening in Oromia, especially the recent drone attacks on students and, people attending assembly, people coming back from church, and others. Let me see what, let me read what says OLA. Intensification of indiscriminate aerial attack in Oromia. OLF-OLA press release. Having ceded the highest command of much of the Ethiopian ground forces to Eritrean military commanders, Abiy Ahmed's cabal in 4 Kilo is now left with the Air Force to further its genocidal campaign in Oromia. Over the past few days, drones and other airborne assets have been utilized to indiscriminately massacre civilians in Meta, Nunukumba, Wama Hagalo, and Chobi areas of West and Central Oromia. The combined civilian death toll stands in the hundreds at the time of writing this presser. Mainly schools and civilian gatherings are targeted in these abhorrent attacks. The Oromo Liberation Army will release a detailed list of victims when totaling is completed. Palpably drunk in a transient and reversible hint of a military advance on the back of the Eritrean military in the north, Abiy Ahmed has now turned attention to indiscriminately bombing civilians in Oromia in a futile bid to cow a defiant Oromo population into submission. We also have credible reports of preparations to systematically continue to kill, maim, and loot the Oromo people using Shimallis Abdisa's ground forces until other rounds of scorched earth operations are launched by joining forces with several divisions of what is left of the Ethiopian military. Both Abiy Ahmed's cabal in 4 Kilo and its regional surrogates in Oromia bear full responsibility for what they had done against our people. The Oromo Liberation Army will continue to do everything in its power to ensure that the regime is held accountable. We also remind the international community of its transboundary responsibility to protect civilians and ensure responsibility for war crimes and crimes against humanity. While some noteworthy efforts are seen in recent days, a lot more needs to be done to ensure international crimes are not perpetrated with impunity. OLF-OLA High Command, October 25, 2022. So that is the press statement from OLF and the OLA Command Center. Yes, that's happening in Oromia. Different media also reported. It's horrible. It's horrible picture. If I show you the video, really, OMN has it. Students, killed by drones, and those people coming from church or other assembly attacked by drones, and you see them lying and injured, dead. So the international community, United States, UN, EU, they didn't pay much attention what is happening in Oromia. The more focus is Ukraine and the Tigray region. So we would appreciate if they give us, more attention and, work on the responsibility for those criminals, using the country's resources to purchase drones and to kill their own citizens. And I hope they will pay more attention and account these individuals responsible for killing civilians in Oromia. Genocide happening in Oromia, really. Just unarmed people, unarmed students, just being killed. And this one is the government of Ethiopia, from government of Ethiopia communication, intimidating, threatening the international community, especially the United States, through press release like this one, also through their media, propaganda, also by organizing protesters at home, and in the United States and other parts of the global community, denouncing the United States and the Western, and threatening them not to speak up, not to ask them for accountability. They say we can solve our problem. Tigrayans are beloved citizens. We can do that. We don't need international interference. African problems can be solved by African solution. We never seen any solution, but that's their claim. And they are denouncing, threatening, intimidating, for example, Ireland, repeatedly warning them. Now the United States. So let me read what it says anyway. Ethiopia condemns a responsible allegation of atrocities for sinister political agenda. The government of Ethiopia can no longer tolerate the defamatory falsehood being spread against Ethiopia by various Western entities. It is shameful that they parrot TPLF irresponsible propaganda that the most heinous crimes could or might be committed in Ethiopia. They are not alleging intent or acts. They just say that there is a distinct possibility. It is regrettable that few institutions of repute could not resist joining this orchestrated campaign against Ethiopia. Some might be fooled into believing this deformation against Ethiopia. Some share the intention of using this allegation to force Ethiopia into submission. They are mistaken that by making such outrageous allegation, they could intimidate the government of Ethiopia to change course in its defensive measure against TPLF. Some are jumping to rescue this group no matter what. Some Western officials openly admit that they pushed such rhetoric because Ethiopia refused to succumb to their instructions. The bandwagon of accusation and slander does not change facts on the ground. The government acknowledges that some vulnerable organizations and well-meaning actors could be unwitting participants in this campaign. It is very irresponsible and shameful that allegations of the most reprehensible and the gravest of all crimes is being made for political ends. The government of Ethiopia is thus forced to weigh its options and consider its relation with some states and entities that are making unsubstantiated and politically motivated accusations of such gravity against the country. It cannot continue to tolerate such extreme slander unanswered. The government is committed to the AU-convened peace talks because it is determined to end the conflict peacefully and in durable fashion. The government of Ethiopia is equally committed to ensuring accountability for violations of human rights and the humanitarian law arising out of the conflict. So that's a very strong statement from Ethiopian government communication service. It's a threat. It's an intimidation against the Western countries. They especially, the target is the United States and also Ireland, some other European countries. So they are trying to shut down, but they can't do it. What they can do? Nothing. They might, force embassies to leave Ethiopia. That's the only thing they can do. They cannot arrest. They cannot intimidate. They are intimidating the citizens of Ethiopia. Now you cannot have any protest against the regime for those all failures. You can't because the security force, the police, the undercover, everything is controlled by Abiy Ahmed. But when the government wants the demonstration, they can do it. But so far, no one can come out and protest against Abiy Ahmed. Last time I heard, against Abiy Ahmed, against the air bombardment, they did in UK, yes, but they didn't denounce the countries that are providing drones to Ethiopia, like Turkey, China. They're supposed to denounce these countries, and more such kind of protests also needed around the world. Speak up for the people dying, the innocent people being killed by Ethiopian government drones. Okay, this is another problem in Ethiopia, in Oromia especially. Malaria killed 37, infects more than 130,000 in Oromia. In 3 months alone, 130,000 infected, malaria infection. Just within 3 months, Oromia has, drought, famine, war, now they have malaria. 37 people have died and more than 131,000 have been infected with malaria in the past 3 months, Abarra said, the deputy head of the Oromia Health Bureau. Abarra Botore, the number of malaria cases in the Oromia region, which has been in decline for years, has increased since January 2022 and expanding to various zones, districts, and cities of the region, according to Abarra. Malaria has erupted in 12 zones and 168 districts of Oromia region. About 629,000 people with these symptoms were tested in the past 3 months, of whom 131,511, almost 21%, were tested positive. Compared to the first quarter of last year, at which the number of cases were less than 45,000 in the same month, the number of cases increased rapidly. In our region, 37 people have died of malaria in the last 3 months, he said. Inadequate preparation of government bodies and health sectors for the prevention of malaria following very low number of cases in recent years, public negligence and lack of sanitation in urban areas, lack of proper maintenance of wells and excavation for various development works and water accumulation, movement from one place to another due to famine are some of the factors increased the spread of malaria, according to the Oromia Health Bureau. Around malaria area, unprecedented outbreak of drug-resistant mosquitoes has emerged. In addition, the anti-malaria chemicals that were previously sprayed from house to house are not available as required, Abarra said. Abarra said that the Bureau is currently focusing on the outbreak of malaria. Our health professionals at health centers are going down to the community and testing everyone who shows fever. During these 3 months, those 629,000 people came to the health center and were tested. Now, however, health professionals examine and treat them there, and if they are overwhelmed, they send them to the health centers for special treatment. Medicine supplies are also being delivered. In addition, he said that the Oromia Health Bureau is currently working with the Ministry of Health and other organizations to prevent the transmission of the disease. Credit at this standard. So that's additional problem with the problem we have before, the war, the drought, and the famine. I was wondering how Abarra was allowed to report such negative about the government of Oromia. Usually they don't allow to talk about drought, famine. They don't allow them. So this is statement by the National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan on the terrorist attack in Somalia. Somalia is terror attack, every week or every month. Just, Al-Shabab and between Al-Shabab and the government. The government, vow to crush Al-Shabab. Al-Shabab is coming back and bombing hotels, business centers, killing now. Let's continue. I don't know why these people, they cannot solve this long-standing problem. They speak the same language, as I said before. They speak the same Somali language. They have the one religion. Why they don't come to the table, see how can avoid the days of civilians and the destruction of Somalia, especially Mogadishu. Let me read what the U.S. statement says. The United States strongly condemns yesterday's tragic terrorist attacks in Mogadishu that killed an estimated 100 people and wounded approximately 3,000 more. And in particular, it is heinous targeting of the Somalia Ministry of Education and the first responders. We send our deepest condolences to the Somali people and to all those who lost loved ones or were injured by these unquestionable attacks against innocent civilians. Apologies for mispronouncing some words. The United States remain committed to supporting the federal government of Somalia in its fight to prevent such colossal terrorist acts. Please, yes, continue your support, but advise them how to deal with Al-Shabab, not only through the guns, not only through bombardment of each other. These people, as I say, they are speaking the same language, they have the same religion. Please try to bring them into the table so Mogadishu can flourish, so Mogadishu can develop, and instead of dealing with bombardment of hotels, business centers, and the deaths and injuries of civilians. Bring them to peace. They speak the same language. They know how to deal. So, and also the court in Somalia executed Al-Shabab members. Let me read. Somalia Military Court executed 3 Al-Shabab men for separate attack that killed over a dozen. Mogadishu. A military court in Mogadishu executed 3 Al-Shabab men convicted of attacks that killed at least 15 people between 2018 and 2020 around Somalia's capital, Mogadishu. Hassan Ali Mualim Bare was convicted for detonating the car bomb in Wadajir Market on November 2018 that killed 12 people. Noor Ibrahim Mahad Ali was found guilty of delivering an ID that killed Mahas deputy mayor Isaac Kero Adnan in 2019 and for a 2020 grenade attack that killed 2 in Waido village. The men were executed by firing squad at General Kahire Police Academy in Mogadishu on Sunday morning. Hassan Ali Mualim Bare joined Al-Shabab in Mubarak district in Lower Shabelle region in 2018 after his uncle Said Ali Adan convinced him to join the group. Hassan's job was primarily to lay IEDs and other explosives. The court sentenced Hassan Ali Mualim Bare to death in October 14, 2019. Isaac Kero Adan joined Al-Shabab in the Dinsur district in 2014. He led a group of militants who set fire to 14 trucks transporting food in December 2017. the court convicted him of throwing 9 hand grenades and participating in assassination in Mogadishu. He killed police officer Farah Abdullahi Arif at Baad Market in Mogadishu on May 5, 2020. He also killed a military soldier, Ahmed Omar Alaso, in Garashli village in January 21, 2020. Credit for this one, Iran Online News. So the violence should end, and the United States and others should help the new president to settle this bloodshed. It should end. And Somalia has, great opportunity to flourish, to develop, if this violence between Al-Shabab and the government of Somalia ends. I hope it will end. And another conflict we have, Ukraine and Russia. This is also impacting the global community, impacting the United States, us, because our money, our tax money is, going to Ukraine in billions. So, plus the global food market is impacted by this war. I hope this will come to an end too. So let me say, this is Russia giving some kind of ultimatum to settle this issue. Russia would agree to talks to end Ukraine war on this condition. This is from Kremlin, from Russia. Russia Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov signaled the Kremlin could be ready to negotiate an end to the Ukraine war so long as the West meets certain conditions. Lavrov's remarks came more than 8 months after Russia President Vladimir Putin launched the special military operation in Ukraine on February 24. Although Moscow initially hoped for a quick victory, the invasion was revealed weaknesses in the military that blunted the Kremlin's gain. Furthermore, Ukraine received support from the West, bolstering defense efforts and allowing its military to launch a strong counter-offensive to reclaim occupied territory. As fighting rages on, negotiations between the two Eastern European nations have stalled. Ukraine, which has seen surprising success, has suggested its military would keep fighting until Russia is completely ousted from its territory. Meanwhile, Russia has signaled little interest in ending the war, despite facing mounting losses. Let me see what's the ultimatum or the requirement to end this war from Russia. Lavrov, however, discussed the possibility of negotiation between Russia and the West during an interview on Russian state television. Russian state media RIA Novosti reported Saturday. He said that Russia is always ready to listen to our Western colleagues if they make another request to organize a conversation. He named 2 conditions the West would need to agree for a negotiation to be successful. Okay, what are these? Lavrov said the West would need to fully take into account the interests of the Russian Federation and its security. Russia for years has raised concerns about the expansion of the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, NATO, which the Kremlin view as a threat to its security interest. Okay, that's one. Putin would like to demand Ukraine's neutrality during negotiation. Throughout the conflict, more Eastern European nations, including Finland, which shares a border with Russia, have made effort to join NATO, strengthening the organization and delivering a blow to Russia's sphere of influence. The United States has signaled reluctant to allow Ukraine's membership under current conditions. Secondly, the West would have to offer us some serious approach that will help diffuse tension, Lavrov said. He didn't offer specific as to how exactly the West could do so, though Russia has previously accused adversaries of deepening tension through their support of Ukraine and the sanctions that have weakened Moscow's economy. Okay, so if we are approached with realistic proposals based on the principles of equality and mutual respect of interest, aimed at finding compromises and a balance of interest of all countries in the region, we will not be the case as it has always been in the past, Lavrov said. So these are two the conditions. One, security, and also stopping the expansion of NATO into border areas, and about the sanctions too, and the respect for Russia. So these are the conditions, and I hope they will come to the table. When you come to the table, you present your requirement, other side present the requirement, the conditions, then you will sort it out, give and take, and you will have a solution for the problem. Humans can disagree, but they have the capacity to solve the issue. Coming to the table is the first step. So I hope this will come to an end, so the global community will enjoy peace, freedom, justice all over the world. So that's the end of the reading. I have two videos I shared from different medias, and let's listen to that and end today's presentation. Thank you again. That's Brazil. See how people come out, celebrate this guy, former President Lula. This is the guy who lost the election.
Pelo menos a gente não vai ter mais miliciano genocida regendo o país. Representa o resgate do que foi tomado por esse governo genocida, homofóbico, preconceituoso, racista.
Para que esse país volte a viver democraticamente, harmonicamente, e a gente possa, inclusive, restabelecer a paz entre as famílias, entre os divergentes, para que a gente possa construir o mundo que nós precisamos e o Brasil.
Okay, that's South Africa, Zulu New King. getting recognition by South African president.
You have picked up the mighty spear that has fallen. May your steady hand guide and bring stability to the kingship of Amazulu. I commit using numerical strength of the Zulus to develop the country and the economy and promoting
New
peace,
King.
reconciliation, first amongst the Zulus and also among South Africans, and then we move on to the rest of the world.
Okay. These are the videos I shared for you from different medias, and the Brazil presidential election, the coming back of the 77-year-old former president Lula is an interesting one. He served 2 terms and accused of corruption. They put him in jail, I think, for almost a year or 2. Came back again, became president. When the people love you, everything is possible. People love him. They love his policy. For some reason, maybe politics is dirty game, so accused him corruption and put him in jail. Came out of jail, ran again for presidency. He won. That's an interesting coming back, and the concerned citizens media wish him success and congratulate him for winning the presidency again. That's all I'm gonna say, and still waiting for any outbreak, breakthrough. I mean breakthrough, not outbreak. Breakthrough from the peace talks in South Africa. We hope truly something will come out to end the bloodshed, the atrocities, so that we can focus on accountability. And we let those experts to go into wherever they want to do the investigation and make accountable, whether from Eritrean side or Prosperity side, or whether if it's TDF, let them accountable. Whoever commits genocide, atrocities, and other grave human rights violation accounted for. So first, let's silence the gun, hopefully. Then come back to other investigation. That's all I'm going to say for today. Thank you for joining me. Please be safe. See you again. So long.